Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
My friends, this is, as of course you know, the time for us to talk about one of the most serious subjects, I think, that befalls this civilization, if not this country. And that's why we turn to Lynn Shaw from lynswarriors.org, Lynn's Warriors on YouTube, and at Lynn's_Warriors on X. Full disclosure, a proud disclosure, she is my beloved wife, and we're here to discuss something which is just frankly the most important and critical issue, and that is AI in the classroom, how AI, artificial intelligence, and one day artificial general intelligence, how it is affecting our children. And without further ado, I bring to the microphones the one, the only, the ineffable, the inimitable Lynn Shaw from Lynn's Warriors. Welcome to Warrior Wednesday.
Good morning, husband. How are you?
Last time I saw you, nothing's changed much. So let us get down. This has been a whirlwind. Please describe.
Well, we're going to start with last week. We had two court verdicts regarding big tech, Meta in particular, winning in New Mexico, winning the next day in California, basically saying that in New Mexico, okay, consumer protection laws, you allowed children and predators all online together. Against the law, we're not having that. Next day in California, and I'm bottom lining this, it was product liability, that you knowingly Meta put out a product that harms children, okay? We know this from the whistleblowers, the internal memos. They really had no argument because all of the proof was right there. But what I want to say about all that, everybody's congratulating each other. This is great news. I say this is just the beginning. We must keep going. I am so adamant about we cannot lose a minute about AI, artificial intelligence, because already, listen, we're talking about something, it is moving so fast. Parents can't keep up with it. Teachers can't keep up with it faster than the law. You've always taught me the law lags behind technology. Well, artificial intelligence, this is the true war, I dare say, is for our children. And it is in education. And you will hear the arguments that this is innovation and we have to be the leaders in all this artificial intelligence. But the real question we should all be looking at, asking each other, and working on is any of this safe for our kids? Because we just got through, to give you a little history, 30 years of big tech, right? The internet. And now we have the proof. Not only do we have studies, not only do we have educators, parents, kids who've been through this for 3 decades now in 2026, we've now got proof from the courts, yes, this is a harmful product. So now all of a sudden we're going to be dumping all of this AI, unvetted, untested. Where are the studies that we've done for 5 to 10 years, how this will affect children? Have we learned nothing from the past 30 years and the harms caused, and now we're doubling down, and this is just hitting everybody left and right. So, really what we're seeing right now is truly not innovation at all, but it's deployment without any kind of guardrails, because most of this AI in the schools right now we're finding out is the parents and caregivers have not given consent. And it's being placed directly into classrooms, into the kids' hands, again, developmental years, and they don't understand. We've been through this so much. We know from big tech, we know from the internet, the harm to them, right, especially the mental health. And now we're doing this again. So what will our future look like? And none of this, this is not speculation. This is what parents are living through right now. And Lionel, I'm so concerned because it's happening right in front of everybody's eyes, and yet nobody's really talking about it. Nobody's really stopping it. Nobody's saying, what the heck is going on here?
And also, this past week, you've talked to so many, I mean, by virtue of the fact that I live with you and I hear your conversations, I don't think people really understand yet how many absolutely just shattered parents there are who are trying to put their lives together, who are just paralyzed by the fact that their beloved children who were healthy, they didn't die in a car accident or disease or cancer or an accident. They died by virtue of a platform that somehow tapped into either their innocence, their naivete, sometimes stupidity, let's be honest, or just their innocence were people who bought something that turned out to be poison. And you talk to these parents all the time regarding a situation which I don't think people really understand. You know, this past weekend we saw that, I don't know if you want to talk about that, this documentary, the HI doc.
Sure, let's talk about it.
And none of it dealt with anything that we're talking about. It was almost done in retrospect in this namby-pamby way. Bring us up to speed, because people should see that, I think. At least it's something.
Yeah, it's called the AI Doc, or How I Became an Apocalyptimist. I mean, look, it's a little too cutesy, that title, for me, because none of this is cute. This is serious stuff. We have kids that are dying from all of this. You know, I don't ever want to talk about anything, you know this about me, unless I've written it myself, I've seen it myself, so I can determine, right, my own opinion about everything. So, of course, I said to you, let's rush out on opening day. And I think it's good. I think I urge everybody to see it. I'm sure it's probably by now, a week later, like on, streaming already, because that's what happens these days, because it will get you to think, right? So at least it's there, the subject matter, AI, artificial intelligence. And in this documentary, they do have some of what we would consider the experts, right, who've created some of this. They're involved in some of this. Also, there's some ethical technologists involved, Tristan Harris, in this. So it's good to see, because it opens up this subject. But you saw how many people were in the theater? 15? I mean, it was so opening day, right? I know it's a different model now with movies and things like that. But basically, nobody rushing out to see it. The second thing is, it didn't really ever answer the question, what is AI? It never... It
was the first question they asked. They never answered the question.
And if those so-called, creators of AI and technologists and those experts, okay, if they can't answer, or perhaps they did that for entertainment value. Maybe that's why they put in those pauses when they showed their face with no answer. We don't know. What I do know is it gives you food for thought. And that warrants always everybody should be doing further investigation on their own, should be asking more questions. But again, this is boiling down to our children. We now have what our own government, what our own Congress could not do with these two cases, okay, against Meta and YouTube. And Snap and TikTok settled out of court, the day before this was going, opening up in court. But what I want to say is, we have proof now. So these parents that you mentioned that I've been with, I've worked with, I've marched with, there is nothing more heartbreaking than hearing them, seeing them, being with them. And they want to talk. And they all say the same thing. We don't want another family to go through what we're going through. But what they told me about being in the court, because they'd be texting me from the courtroom. One mom said, Mark Zuckerberg, when he walked in, and I had to leave. I physically became ill. And I'll tell you why. They all told me that the court determined, Meta knew, Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, that's Meta, they knew they were causing harms. They had the studies. They had the 17 strike rule where you could, 16 times.
Explain this one. This is my favorite.
You could be, with Meta, you could 16 times be, sexually abusive and trying to sextort or nude images or whatever it is. All this horrible stuff, right? They didn't do anything until the 17th time. They would kick you off the platform.
Let me stop for 1 second. Had you mentioned something, let's say, about COVID, about certain palliatives in the old days, hydroxychloroquine, had you said something denying, let's say, election, if you were an election denier, had you said something perhaps in some respects, let's say, in favor of President Trump, it was a one strike and you're out. And somehow these particular platforms found you. They found you. They didn't need anybody to report you. They had some means, some algorithm, something that found you. But yet, when there was something that affected, for example, children, for example, if there was a choking challenge, you've talked to people, parents, who were children died because of a choking challenge, or some child who buys some seemingly innocuous pill and they are poisoned, or somebody is a victim of sextortion. All of those behaviors somehow were unable to be found and required 17 times before they were put on notice. Other situations, not the same consideration.
Well, I think we all know there is censorship, right? I mean, I do interviews, and the word suicide is mentioned because that's the reality. That is the story we are.
That's what it's called.
And they don't want that word. They strike it. They don't want to put the interview up. They don't want to monetize. They don't want to do anything. Okay, they hold it. They don't circulate it right in with all the other videos that are going on. But I just want to finish the thought. I don't think I did that. The parents in the courtroom in L.A., for them, they told me the hardest part was that their children died. Okay, these are all what we call survivor parents. And you mentioned it's dying from sextortion, dying from buying pills on Snap that contain fentanyl, choking challenge, all of these horrific things that nobody really wants to talk about. Who wants to talk about this? But we have to, because this is an American crisis that is only escalating, so we all need to talk about it. But they said the hardest thing was sitting there and knowing from the whistleblowers and internal memos that Meta knew they were harming kids, and they continued on. And their language in the memos are kids are just herd animals. They'll do anything. The one memo said the price of a child is the lifetime price of a child for us is $237. Can you imagine the parents sitting there hearing all of this?
Incredible.
And knowing that they did, Meta, these harms, and they continued on because it's profit over people. And that was the worst thing all of the parents reported to me.
It's just, it's beyond anything. Now, a couple of things I want to bring up very quickly. These two cases, by the way, we're talking to Lynn Shaw from lynswarriors.org, Lynn's Warriors on YouTube, and at Lynn's_Warriors on X. Two cases came out this past weekend. Both, as you say, roughly products liability. The Los Angeles case dealt with the fact that it was the design of these particular platforms, not the content, not what was said, but the design to effectuate, to dig into, to attract, to hook into the addictive, addictive modalities of children. That was a California case. The New Mexico case dealt with the fact that there were safeguards that the state of New Mexico required, and that they were not only making predators available or removing any barrier between children and predators, they actually introduced them.
Yes.
These were, and the thing which is the most important is that this had nothing to do with content. So therefore, the dread Section 230 was not a protection at all. And that's what had the Zuckerbergs and others freaking out, because they thought that was the Teflon, that was the Kevlar, that was the bulletproof materials. And it turned out to be absolutely wrong.
Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.